Hey YouTube, how's it going? Well, it is Labor Day weekend still, and I'm still jamming, having a really good time. I hope you guys are having a good time. Um, I got a special one this. I'm trying to take some time this weekend to try out some new blends I haven't tried yet. Uh, and this one is one I have been waiting to get my hands on and open up. Well, I've had my hands on it for maybe I guess a week now, and I've been just waiting to tear into it. This is Doblone D'oro from Savinelli. There you go. And I've heard it's really good. I've heard good things. What happened is I didn't want to put out a big order last weekend. I've been doing a lot of big orders, and I really want to kind of hold back and not just blow every cent that I had on a big tobacco order again. And thought, all right, what I'm gonna do to kind of you know stay back the craving. I'm gonna go into my local tobacconist. There's brick and mortar. More kind of into town that they have just an amazing selections, excellent tin tobaccos, excellent selection of pipes, just really great place. If you're in Houston, let me know. I'll send you there. You probably already found them if you're into this at all and you're in Houston, because they're they're the top place that I've seen here. But they do like to cater more to their local, people who kind of come into the shop. They don't do a whole lot of mail order stuff. So, I've been asked to not like pump them up too much on, they're not looking to get a bunch of calls from overseas and, and all over the country, trying to get them to ship out their tobaccos, because, they do like to have those tobaccos in stock for people, those of us who come in. And that's more their business model. I really respect that, and I really like it. And it's really I think that's the thing for all of us. If you're having trouble finding tobaccos, and you're not like really checking into your local brick and mortars, be sure to do that, because you would be surprised some of the stuff that you might find sitting on the shelf there that's so rare and hard to find. And the only reason that will happen is that they try to cater to their people in town. They try to serve their local customers, and that's really what makes them such a great shop. You end up having to compete with a smaller pool of customers buying up cool things that end up on their shelves, such as Doblone D'oro. So I walked in, I saw this there. I saw several things. I saw this one time before, I kind of had this in mind. I was like, I might grab this. I was thinking I might grab this, or I might grab a couple other things I had in my head, and I was sort of perusing around. I picked this up and looked at it, and their pipe guy, Ross, comes in, and he comes around. He says, "Did you see the date on that?" And I'm like, "What?" um, Yeah, I flipped it over, and 2014. This thing was tinned in June of 2014. It's got 4 years. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, I want to make sure, because I'd look stupid if I totally miscounted. No. Yeah, 4 years of aging already on this tin. That's just an amazing find. And they had a great price on it. It was a really satisfying tobacco purchase. And anyway, so like I said, go out and support your local brick and mortars, because you will be rewarded. Trust me. The that's a whole other side to the hobby, is finding those people here in town, the local shops. Okay, so I popped it. This is exciting. I mean, it's not that old. It's not like I've got like something from the '60s here, but it's still pretty exciting for me. Yeah, I mean, that is, if that's not sort of a fermenting, uh, then I don't know what is, because that definitely has a very interesting, like, kind of aged, fermented odor that tastes like, I want to say figs, but I could be crazy. I might be thinking of a different fruit. It's definitely kind of I think it's definitely kind of a fig smell. Wow. I mean, that's really good. It smells really good. Um, Interesting thing is now I don't really have, you know, non-aged, fresh Doblone D'oro to compare this to. So it'll be interesting if I love this, smoke it all up, go find another tin, and it's like brand new, and it's not the same at all. But that's okay, because then I'll just, throw it in the cellar till 2024 or whatever. Oh, yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna break it up too much. They aren't particularly moist, which is not surprising. I mean, they've been sitting in this tin for so long. But I'd say that they're pretty much Goldilocks. I wouldn't say that these are overly dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stuff them into my church warden, and not be too. Yeah, I don't want to break them up too much. I'll probably try these later. Try breaking them up and see if they smoke better. Because sometimes I do find that, especially in this church warden, which has a very narrow bottom of the bowl, it comes down to a point. It tends to kind of not. You can't really get to the tobacco at the bottom and get that last bit burned. Sometimes I'll use the poker to kind of go out down in there and poke an oxygen hole through there just to get out the last bit. That's perfect. Oh man, it's almost like an alcohol flavor coming through there. And I didn't pull up the stats on this, so I think I will do that now, because I wanna kind of talk about what's in the blend. So, Savinelli, Doblone D'oro, or Doblone D'oro, I've heard it called. There's an apostrophe there, so I assume it's D'oro. The choicest Virginias, Burleys, and dark-fired Kenyan leaf, not just, Kenyan leaf, are enhanced with an impeccable addition of spicy Perique. So, Virginia's, Burleys, and dark-fired Kenyan leaf, and Perique. This sounds really, really interesting. A lot of flavors in here. Let's see. Then aged to perfection, and then some, before being spun into enticingly beautiful, zesty coins. A delightfully vivacious and flavorful smoke. I tend to find that Englishes smoke a little better in this church warden, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it here. That's why I chose this one. So let's give it a shot. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I mean, wow. Rich and creamy. Rich and creamy. First thought. First thought. First two thoughts. Wow. That creamy flavor is really coming through. and I don't even know where that's coming from. I don't know what that is. It's not like it's like a topping, you know. It's not like a vanilla topping or anything like that. It's just a very creamy, delicious, creamy characteristic coming through the natural tobacco. The draw feels a little loose, actually, a little too free. Like I'm not getting enough contact. So I'm gonna readjust. And relight. I've really been liking matches lately. Feel like I can always kind of taste that fuel, you know, flavor coming through, ruining the whole light and kind of tainting the tobacco afterwards for a while with any lighter I try. So I just decided to stick to these for a while, and I'm really digging it. Really digging it. It doesn't impart much. A little bit of the wood, but not much. I mean, this is incomparable. This must be why people get so, you know, excited, so adamant about cellaring your tobacco. It's probably the most aged tobacco that I think I've had. Even that Frogmorton cellar I got, I don't think it was that old. I think it was only a couple of years old, maybe a year old. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I mean, okay, so zero harshness, zero, like negative harshness. I'm getting a lot of that Virginia sweetness. I wouldn't say it's really the bright hay necessarily, but it's definitely that Virginia flavor. But so smooth, just butter. It's like someone took you know, luxury twist flake and like bathed it in butter and took away every ounce of harshness. It makes me want to just cellar a bunch of that, you know, just get a bunch of that, cellar it for like 5 years, and then just start a rotation, you know, like put another jar of it away every year or something. I actually might do that. I might do that. Or I might just buy like 20 tins of this and be done with it. I mean, this is just delicious. This is one of those smokes that you hope for. It's one of those tobaccos that you hope for. You know, where it just doesn't have any, there's no negatives. there's no, you're not hunting for the flavor. And you're not being hit upside the head with it or drowned in it like, you know, in an aromatic. Not to knock aromatics necessarily, because I do love aromatics, but they're not really my main thing. I love an occasional aromatic. But to me, there's just nothing like the experience of being able to draw out delicious, sweet, natural flavor. That's one of the things I love about Virginia. It's one of the things I hope to eventually kind of get to with Burley. I don't know if I'll ever be, as Matches puts it, a Burley man. But I feel like I'll probably find. I'm gonna open some Solani aged Burley flakes soon. Got a tin of that, and I'm gonna try to see if I can, understand Burleys a little bit better, because I'd like to. But for now, I'm already firmly a lover of Virginia. However, some Virginias are just a bit on the harsh side. This, not at all. I don't taste, like a whole separate spice coming through from the Perique. Some of those vapors tend to, for me, kind of have the sensation of, a Virginia tobacco that somebody's crunched up red hots into when the flavors aren't properly melded, which is all part of the aging. That's one of the nice things that I think probably about coins and flakes is that the pressing, will tend to help also blend the flavors a bit better, and then of course with age that just gets better and better. I've got some Peter Stokkebye's Luxury Navy Flake that isn't doing that much for me, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna see what it's like next year and then the year after. So I'm purposefully not smoking it up just yet. I cannot recommend this enough. I'm really fascinated now to know how much of this is the extra aging, and how much of this is just the deliciousness of this particular tobacco. But if you like Virginias, you got to get you some of this. There it is. Doblone D'oro, 7LE. Yeah. These are the George you're looking for. Oh my goodness. I want to send some shout outs to some people. First of all, I've been going live a few times here and there lately, and so, a friendly hello to you guys who've come in and said hi. I had a wonderful little chat last night about Ray Harryhausen movies and Edgar Rice Burroughs novels and film versions, and just fun stuff with some folks. So that was really fun. So hello to all you people who've come in and said hi while I was streaming live. I want to say hi to Clayton Ore Jr., Carl Holt. You guys have been, commenting and hanging out in my videos since the very beginning, and of course, good old Berg. He's been just really friendly. It's always cool when somebody with as big an audience as Ole Berg will come down and hang out with newbies. And I really just started putting out videos pretty recently. So, man, Ole Berg is awesome. So thank you, sir. Really enjoying. Well, I think I've said this before, but Renee of Social D, really great, just straight to the point, tobacco reviews, great stuff. Very similar to the kind of rapid, information that you would get from Stuff and Things with Bradley, but not quite as structured, not quite as much really. It's an even kind of faster, quicker hit of impressions, his videos. So yeah, both of those are really good for finding tobaccos. So check those out if you haven't already. And another channel that I've been hitting up a lot lately is Phil O. Stein. Phil O. Stein is really cool. He's been coming up with some really interesting topics lately. Trying out some really good blends. I enjoyed his review of Doblone D'oro. I mean, of Molto Dolce. Even though he wasn't in the end as impressed with it as I was, but just watching him open it and his kind of impressions of the initial, smell of it and everything, it really made me want to get it. I was like, oh God, man, I gotta have that. And he just put out a video where he's talking about embracing the hipster in us all, and how you can kind of tend to want to shy away from those things that would get you labeled a hipster. I got a beard, I smoke a pipe. It occurs to me, I'm at a pub, somebody sees me like, oh, there goes a hipster, check it out. He probably just bought that pipe. People are going to think what they want to think. It doesn't matter. I mean, before there were hipsters, it was goths. I knew a lot of goths as a kid. I knew a lot of metalheads as a kid. I knew a lot, emo kind of seems like that kind of evolved a little after goth, but it's always something. It's always something. It's always like some way to find people who seem similar and are grouped together to kind of label them something bad and pounce on them as a group. And you can do that. You can jump on the stereotype, which is, I think, what a lot of bullies do, what a lot of insecure people, who just are just angry people who just want to find a way to express their anger, and that's kind of what they do because it's easy. It's really easy to just label a whole group and go after them. But I think it's more rewarding to see people as individuals. So he talked about how he's kind of trying to embrace it. He's getting into collecting vinyls. If I see somebody collecting vinyls, I'm at Half Price Books, which is a really cool little bookstore we have in Texas, and it's probably elsewhere by now. I don't know. Anyway, they have a whole vinyl section, and you'll see people picking up vinyls, and it will be easy to look over there and see that, and oh, look, hipsters with their vinyls. They have a thing called MP3 now, which is old too, because now it's streaming. I don't even really collect music anymore. I just stream it. But or you can stop and think. I wonder what it is about that particular album that person is into. I wonder what kind of music this person's into. I just think you're gonna find so much more reward in connecting to an individual than you will in lumping people together as a stereotype and finding, when you look for ways to connect with someone, things that you have in common, as opposed to looking immediately for things that you can ridicule them about. I just think you're just gonna have a happier life altogether, and you're gonna make the world a better place for other people, and they're gonna like you for it. You're gonna have more friends, and everything's gonna be a lot more positive for you. So there's some people who do that. I wouldn't worry about it, I don't. I never have. I was a metalhead in school. Well, my school was weird, my whole schooling situation. But anyway, when I was that age, I had like long hair, really long hair, jean jacket, ripped jeans. I loved metal music, but there was a lot about my personality that did not really fit into metalhead at all. So someone could look at me and just assume I was a metalhead, and that I was an idiot, and they didn't. But if they came home with me, they'd see that I also like ran a Commodore 64 BBS, and I was like learning to program and building computers. I was an avid like PC gamer. Eventually went to work for my favorite PC game company, and none of that has anything to do with being a metalhead. None of these other aspects of my personality in my life. So, um, you know, I think that you can kind of also chalk it up to life is one of those things that you get out of what you put in. So anyway, cheers to you. Go grab those vinyls. I have to say, I used to collect. Well, I didn't collect vinyls. I had vinyls from my mom. She had a bunch of vinyls, and I grew up playing them. I had vinyls because I grew up with vinyls everywhere in the house, and I played them constantly. And the vinyl that means the most to me, that I remember playing over and over and over as a teenager, from my mom's collection. And she had a killer collection. She had like Beatles and Pink Floyd and all kinds of stuff. But Dark Side of the Moon. I remember I would just put that on, play the whole side A, flip it over, play the whole side B, and there's a quality to that gritty, record player vinyl feel that you just can't get any other way. I mean, technically, a vape will deliver nicotine probably more efficiently than this stuff. Smoking this stuff will. And and it doesn't. It's not a big giant tin with messy, coins and tobaccos and whatever. It's just like little oily bottles of stuff that you put in there, and you can like fit it in your pocket. It's very convenient. And as far as I'm concerned, and I have had a vape. I have one still somewhere. It's for the birds. I don't like it at all. This to me is a real, smoking habit or habit. That has a bad connotation, but this is the hobby, and I don't think I showed you the coins, so I'm showing you now. Sorry. These are the coins. They are very similar to the Dark Twist roll cake. It's the only kind that I have like this. I've seen a few others. So they're very small coins, and they're very kind of loose coins. It's not like big, these are not like the luxury twist flake coins. These are little bitty coins, and they unravel a bit, and but they're very easy to get out of there, and they're not bullseye type coins, or there's no center, so you're not going to lose. You don't have to sit through it and find one that's like this and one that's like that. You just kind of grab it and throw it in here. I find it to be a pretty convenient tobacco. Anyway, and it's a similar thing. It's like you're missing all of the rest of it. Yeah, you're getting the nicotine, but there's so much that we enjoy and it goes into pipe smoking that you're gonna miss if you're vaping. And maybe there's things that people love about vaping that I just don't love. I mean, I do remember a few things. I remember the feeling of being able to just vape in a bar that had no smoking and nobody cared. That's cool. Some bars do need now, I've noticed, but back then no one did. That was cool. It was a cool feeling to not have to go outside, because I'm in Texas. It's really hot and humid out there. To be able to like sit at the bar in the air conditioning, play the jukebox, talk to people at the bar, and have my vape right there. I noticed some other guy was doing that. That's why I ended up buying one. So I was like, that's a great idea. Now I can actually smoke at the bar, and I don't have to go outside. Oh man, this is great. So that was a big deal to me. That was one thing I loved about it. There are things I'm sure people love about it. But anyway, there are all of these messier things about pipe smoking, and you have to kind of be vigilant. Keep your pipe clean. There's the cleaning of it. There's the care of it. There's the technique in smoking it. How do you smoke it? What type of pipe is it? What type of tobacco is it? Do you blend stuff yourself? I mean, there's so many cool things. And listening to music, digitally, or whether it's a cassette tape, or I don't see why anybody would ever enjoy CDs. I hated them when they were popular. I still hate them. The skipping, You know, they take up a ton of room, and the package is too small to do anything cool with. I love vinyls. Like, I love opening up a vinyl and you've got all this artwork inside, and it's huge and it feels special. It feels like you bought something important and special, and you sit down and you want to savor it. You know, it's not tapping a couple of buttons on an app to buy it, or just, you know, opening up Spotify and hitting search, which is pretty much how I listen to a new album now. You know, it really takes a lot of there's so much of the fun that's just not there anymore. So I could totally understand that. And I wanted to share a small vinyl collection that I have of my own. I thought this, you want to talk weird, you know, sort of fetish for old, you know, antiquated technology. I have a small collection of vinyls that I started a while back, but it's not music. It's movies. So this is a far defunct, and I don't think it was very popular for very long, format called CED. No, wait. That's the capacitance electronic disc system. Yes, CEDs. I don't know, I thought it was CH something. Anyway, CEDs. Coming to a theater near you, May 25th. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They put an ad for the sequel here. So this is, believe it or not, this is an actual movie. And no, it's not a Laserdisc. This is a genuine, bona fide vinyl record that contains a movie. It's on two sides. I'm not really sure if it had, if they had players that could play both sides, or if you had to take it out and flip it. I've never actually found a player for one of these. I would like to. I'd really like to see what it looks like. I hear it's kind of worse than videotape, which is not surprising. But anyway, so if nothing else, I thought it'd be really fun to just get these and like frame them and use them as just artwork and hang them up. You know, it'd be really fun. So anyway, I have Raiders of the Lost Ark. I have 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is one of my favorite science fiction films. I think one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. I'm a big fan of the book and the short stories that went into, that actually were written before the book, that kind of went into the making of the book. Arthur C. Clarke. There was a story called The Sentinel, which was a weird story about a mysterious device that's discovered on the moon and just seems to, like, they don't know what it does, and then they kind of activate it. It's almost like they've tripped some sort of alarm, and it starts sending a signal out, and they're all like, what does this mean? And then the story's over. And it's like, oh my god, you know, and so your imagination goes wild. Is it going to call intergalactic, you know, defense force? They're going to come and wipe out Earth? It's like you've crossed a tripwire, and now intelligent life has found their way to the moon, and we have to go exterminate them. Or are they going to be friendly? Like, what exactly, how does this work? What's going to happen next? They leave you completely in the dark. Or he does, Arthur C. Clarke. And then there were a few other short stories. There was one about the computer on board the spaceship. Anyway, then he kind of put it all together at the request of Stanley Kubrick and turned it into one cohesive story, and that became 2001: A Space Odyssey. And Kubrick filmed his version kind of without the narrative, and it's not, I don't think it's that he had a different story in mind, because it really matches up. It's that he just didn't want to tell the narrative part. He wanted to just have the visual component of it. He wanted it to be a visual odyssey that it was just like wash over you as an experience. but you wouldn't necessarily walk away having the complete story. He didn't want to sit down and tell you what was going on. It's a very different kind. I mean, it was an experimental film in a lot of ways, and it was made for ultra wide screens that wrapped around you, called CinemaScope. And there aren't even any proper CinemaScope screens in existence anymore, because the way that it wrapped around you, they actually had to cut the screen into slivers and turn them slightly toward the audience to keep them from reflecting, because otherwise you would see the light from this side reflect onto the other side. So it was a highly technical accomplishment to get them to even work. By the time 2001 finally came out, it was already kind of on its way out. It was sort of a failed format. So most people actually saw it in 70 millimeter, like Star Wars and Raiders, super wide, not quite as wide as CinemaScope. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But it was also very, very high resolution film. Like, the film itself had just an amazing, it was just huge. And so they packed so much grain into it that you got an incredibly high fidelity photo or image up on the screen, which is why 70 millimeter film never really, I mean, I don't know if it really did it justice. I want to say it was only like a quarter of the grain structure. So if you're interested in 2001, they're putting it out in 4K soon, which is probably going to be much closer. Or no, I'm sorry, IMAX soon. They're putting out an IMAX. An IMAX film is much bigger than 70 millimeter, so it's probably going to be the closest that you'll get. Oh, also a lot of IMAX screens. If you don't go to a LIMAX screen, you go to an actual IMAX screen. That means that it's curved and it's enormous, like 6 stories tall. You're going to get pretty close to the original experience. And then if you really want to know what's going on, read the book, because it's all there. And it's I think it really adds to it a lot. I find the movie much more interesting having read the book. But, they're kind of two different things too. So, number 2 out of 4, Superman. This remains my favorite superhero film of all time. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the current crop of superhero films. I think most of it is great, but I'm not enjoying what's going on right now in the DC universe so much. I feel like they got close enough. They got much closer with Wonder Woman to this kind of film where, the kids, that's really what I'm concerned about. That's what these movies are meant for. And the kid in all of us. But those kids sit down and they see this transformation of a character who believes in all the best qualities of humanity and fights for them and protects people who can't protect themselves. And that's what Superman was about. And it was about him making that choice. Actually, it's a pretty great script, really. It's all about him being kind of held back by his real father, his Kryptonian father, and in the end choosing to follow the advice of his Earth father. It's all about he's caught between these two philosophies. One of them being, you are not allowed to change the course of human history. In other words, go there, live on Earth, but don't do anything. Leave him alone. And the other philosophy put into his head as a child, as a teenager, by his Earth father in Kansas, which was, you were put here on Earth for a reason. Said, I don't know what that reason is, but one day you'll figure it out. And the whole movie is about him struggling with that. And in the director's cut, which is much better, he actually he has a moment where he's kind of apologizing to his Kryptonian father for being weak and allowing and allowing himself to kind of fall into this need to go and help the humans, and he just can't help himself, and that he thinks that they could be so great if they need some help, and and so he goes and he helps them, and he kind of gets addicted to solving, well, not solving crimes, but like capturing criminals and saving people from disasters, and doing all the things that we've been like waiting the whole movie to see him do. And it's just like a huge payoff of him just saving the day over and over and over. And they cut out, in the non-director's cut, they cut out the best one, which is where he saves these very violent, bank robbers who are like driving down the street and shooting off guns, and it's like a very dangerous situation for people, and he rushes in and actually captures them as they're trying to get away on a boat, and it's just great. And he ends up taking the whole boat and dropping it down in the middle of downtown, and then he thinks he can kind of walk this line. He's still gonna not get too involved, but he just has to help when he can. And then the end, which is absurd in any realm of science and how physics works and how space-time works and all of that, it's absurd what he did, but it works for a Superman story. It's the kind of thing you would have seen in a Superman comic, which is that in the end, he tried to help so many people. He couldn't save everyone, and the one person he loved ends up dead, and that's when he has to like face that moment. I'm going through all this because I bet there's a lot of people out there who barely remember this movie and haven't really considered it in a long time. But there's this moment where he has to kind of say, what am I going to do? Like, which philosophy am I going to follow? I cannot walk this line anymore. I have to make a decision. And he hears both fathers, echoing through the clouds. And then he just he sees the image of Jor-El, the Kryptonian father, telling him, you are forbidden. You are forbidden to interfere with human history. And this is where you reach that moment that is that Campbell identified in all of the great folk tales and mythologies. It's the part where Luke had to go, face Vader. The hero has to kill the father, confront the father, become that person, become the father, become the authority in their own life, take responsibility for their own life. And they nailed it. They got that moment in there, and it's just a perfect hero with 1,000 faces Campbell moment where he rockets through the image of Jor-El past him, into the heavens and into space, and spins the Earth around backwards, rewind, literally changes history, which is why it works thematically, is that he had to literally reverse time to interfere with human history to directly defy his father and make his own decision. And so you get at the end of the movie that from now on he's going to be his own hero. They have defined him in a permanent way. And so if you end up going back and revisiting the original Superman, because I really recommend it, especially in this era of out of control superhero movies, some great, some what. This is a real palate cleanser, and it really brings you back to remembering what these movies were supposed to be about. And if you do that, a lot of you probably remember fondly the second movie, because that's the one where he actually meets up with the other guys from Krypton, and they kick each other's butt all over downtown, and it's awesome. Huge superhero battle, finally. But it had a lot of problems. Well, there's another version of it called the Donner Cut, and what happened is that the director of the first one, Richard Donner, who's great, this is the guy who directed Lethal Weapon and The Goonies. I mean, he was awesome, and he directed Superman. And then in the middle of Superman 2, they fired him. The Salkinds, the producers, they fired him. And they finished the movie with someone else, rewrote it, made up a lot of things that didn't make any sense, and just kind of wrapped it up really fast. Well, he got to kind of go dig up old footage. Some cases he had to use screen tests, so it's a little rough, but he cobbled together what the movie was supposed to be. And despite some of the rough edges, you can, knowing that, taking that into account, you can kind of ignore it, and it's so much better. It's such a better film. So it's called the Donner Cut. It's on Blu-ray and DVD and all that. So I highly recommend checking out the original Superman and then the director's cut, which is I think the only version available anymore, and the Donner cut of Part 2. I think you're really gonna enjoy, the origin of great superhero movies. So anyway, I have to kind of sometimes I explain this when I talk about Superman, and people are like, that was a goofy movie. I don't remember that being all that good. Like, well, some of it is that a lot of the good stuff was cut out. And some of it is that, maybe as an adult, when you go revisit it, what happens is when we become teenagers, we tend to think a lot of things that we liked as kids are stupid. And we don't want anything to do with it anymore. And when you come back to it, you're grown, you're past all that, you're like, oh, you know what? That's why I love that so much. That was really good. I think this is one of those things. Fourth and final. This one is obvious because, I mean, if you've watched some of my videos, you've seen that I'm surrounded by Ray Harryhausen stuff. So, Clash of the Titans. Is that not the most awesome, poster? Remember when posters looked like that? Instead of, photo montages or, the 90s where it was just a big line of faces. No, this is when they painted, beautiful, giant paintings. This is, one of the last movies I can remember that did this. This is after Star Wars and all that. I mean, this is sort of in the later era of the chrome, logo and the painted covers, and of course lots of stop motion beasts. And this is probably my second favorite of the Ray Harryhausen movies, but it does have the Medusa scene, which I think is my favorite scene in any Ray Harryhausen movie. In case you're wondering, my favorite movie would be Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Okay, so that's my geeky vinyl collection. So Phil O. Stein, I salute you, sir. He's going to be putting out a video soon where he talks about movies, like old cult movies, and some kind of documentary he had about. Anyway, that sounds like a fascinating discussion. I highly recommend you go find him and sub him. And I'm going to put his info on my channel. Very, very cool channel. He also had something to say recently about the community helping each other. And it was, he didn't mention any names, but as many of you know, there has been some discussion of late about, whether or not it's okay to ask for help, or whether or not it's okay, when people send a lot of money to one person, was this other person more deserving? I found it really interesting. I really liked what he had to say. I totally agree with him. That's why I think it's a great video. So I'm not going to talk about it forever, because just go listen to what he had to say. He had great things to say about it. I will just add, though, that I come from a bit of a different community. I mean, different online communities they're all different. I've actually run a successful Kickstarter, so I've been there where I've had in fact, this whole studio where I'm doing my project, this is to finish a Kickstarter project that I had. So I crowdfunding, I've been there. I still have a Patreon. And I've spent a lot of time on Twitch, and I've gotten a lot of donations and stuff. Not a whole lot, but I mean, I've gotten donations and stuff on Twitch. But I hang out in Twitch channels where people are getting donations constantly. I mean, there are, and if you think Twitch is just like a place where people play, the newest, Dark Souls or video game or whatever, and then other people watch them, and that's all Twitch is. I'm here to tell you there's a lot more going on Twitch than that. They have a whole thing called Twitch Creative, and that whole section is people crafting things, and programming and doing pixel art, or maybe they're sculpting, maybe they're painting, and there's a whole section of music. And so there are people that will get on and there's this one particular kind of niche of it where someone comes on with like maybe MIDI drums, which are drums that are not as loud as a regular drum set because they produce sound through the computer, so you can put them in an apartment and not get kicked out. So a lot of people have those now, and they're doing that. Or they might, there's like someone has, I know of, who has like a electric viola. All, you know, a lot of keyboardists, a lot of DJs. Anyway, what happens is that for the musicians, people will come in. Oh, of course, acoustic guitars. People come in and do song requests, you know, and it has like a whole thing in the channel. People like make song requests, and as they pop up, you know, whatever the next request is, that's what they'll play along with. So that song will come up, you know, and it's usually not too loud, and their instrument is a little louder, so that they can then play along with it, and they will just, you know, play along with the next song. And it's really fun, actually. People get in there, and there are regulars, and people are always requesting completely different kind of songs, and they just get in there and like get sweaty, and they're, you know, going crazy and playing, and kind of you're hearing a lot of improvisation, and it's just a really, really good time, especially if you like music, live music. And people are constantly throwing them, you know, donations and subs. And here's an interesting thing. On Twitch, the word sub means to hit the subscribe button on that Twitch channel. And you may not, if you don't know this might come as a shock to you as a YouTube person, but the subscribe button on Twitch means that you subscribe at least $5 a month. That's a subscription, as in I'm subscribing to you every month. You get money. I'm going to become a subscriber to your channel. The channel is open. Anyone can go hang out. Some channels with tons, like thousands of subscribers, or, you know, at least hundreds, they will sometimes limit it so that only subscribers can talk and chat, because otherwise the chat rolls up too fast, because there's 6,000 people in their chat room. But that's about the only thing. You know, they get some special stuff, you know, that they can do. They get emojis that they don't get otherwise. But basically, that's all just extra. The main thing is, I'm in your channel a lot. I want to subscribe to it because I'm going to give back, because you're always entertaining me. I'm going to give back something. And that doesn't really exist on YouTube. Now, every Twitch channel has their Patreon, their, you know, PayPal, where you can click here just to throw a donation. There's the bits, which is this whole thing where you buy bits from Twitch, and then you can just throw bits in, and it says, oh, or cheer, or whatever, you know, it's like, oh, somebody cheered for this many bits. And that's money in their pocket. I mean, there are like 50 ways to throw money at people on Twitch, and it's part of the Twitch culture. It's just always, in fact, if you're there all the time and you never subscribe, you never do anything, it become, you know, like, nobody would ever shame you for it, but it, you know, like, I feel bad. I'm like, God, I never throw this guy anything, you know, like, I feel like I want to. In fact, one of the things that you can do if you subscribe, and you can subscribe for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, I think there are all these different levels, but you can also gift a sub, where I say, I want to subscribe, but I want that guy to have it. That happens all the time. People are gifting people subs all the time. You know, people that they're already subscribed, maybe double subscribed, and they'll be gifting subs to people the whole time. And it's just amazing. It's amazing to watch. And what happens is that it puts a lot of extra cash in these guys' pockets. Often what they're doing costs money, and so, you know, even if it's just spending a lot of time streaming, that's, you know, it becomes like it's something that they spend a lot of valuable time on, and it's like they're paying them back. In cases where they have like 500 subs, you know, 1,000 subs, those are the smaller of the more successful channels. Really successful channels, they have tons of subs. Like, you know, every time they get on, like 6,000 people pile in the room, and it looks like, you know, a couple hundred of them are subs, and those are just the ones that are there in the room right now. So those people live on it. Like, that's their full-time job, is to live on Twitch and do that. Now, I'm not saying that YouTube should become that. I'm just saying nobody ever stops to say, well, that guy deserves it more. That's not your business. It's nobody's business where I throw my money. If I want to throw my money at him, I consider him a friend, like an online, like not a friend, but in a friendly way. I consider him. He's somebody. I say hi to him. He says hi to me. It's like a friend at a pub, right? If you go to a pub, you tip the hell out of your bartender. I do, like I tip my bartender. That's kind of like going to the pub and tipping the bartender. And when I see somebody, online, and they're and I spend a lot of time, and someone has recently did not ask for money, received money anyway. I have spent countless hours. I think I've watched every video he has, and some of them more than once. Some of them many times, just trying to pick things up, because then you watch again a month later and it makes more sense to you, because you're smoking what he's got or whatever. That means a lot to me, and if I can like throw some cash in there, I'll gladly do it. And nobody has any business to tell me not to. I don't have any business to tell you or anybody whether it's okay for you to tip the bartender. That's what it is in my book. That's how I look at it, is that I am showing, throwing down some gratuity to show my appreciation for the time and effort that person has put into the hours of entertainment that I have received, the hours of community that has just been, or the community that I've spent hours in, and sometimes it just goes for weeks and then months, and maybe you've been watching somebody for years. I wouldn't ever tell anybody what they can or can't do with their money and do that. And if I didn't like the way a particular Twitch, there are all kinds of Twitch people that rub me the wrong way, like, oh, that guy. But I don't think there's anything that can be gained by spreading ill will about them. If you don't like their channel, just don't go to their channel. There's 5,000 other channels, and that's what I guess I wish more people would do in this situation, is just not worry about it. Like, if somebody rubs you the wrong way, that's cool. I don't think they meant to. And I don't think they're going to fault you for going, hanging out somewhere else. But I don't see any reason to be cruel to them, especially when they're clearly in need. I detest, kicking people when they're down. And I don't particularly appreciate kicking people at all. So, yeah. Anyway, I totally told you that I wasn't going to give you, go into it, and I totally did. But, sorry, I'm totally I'm gonna put on here first impressions of Doblone D'oro, and then a talk about a lot of other junk. A ramble. This is a ramble. But thank you for sitting through it, and I hope that you guys have something just awesome to smoke like this, and I wish you luck in your discovering new tobaccos. Don't forget to try new things and see what's out there. It's better to waste a little money on a tobacco you didn't love than to always kind of smoke the same thing and wonder what else is out there and not really know. And it's so easy to just package up the stuff that you didn't like and mail that off to a friend. That's what this community is all about. So anyway, get out there and try new blends is what I would say. And check out Phil O. Stein. And thank you all for hanging out. Oh, I wanted to put a shout out to Mel Harris too. He's just recently started commenting on a lot of my videos. He calls himself Garbage Man Piper. Look him up. He's cool too. He seems to be fairly new, but man, he's hit the ground running. He's got a lot of blends, and he's trying a lot of stuff, and he's doing some cool experiments, doing some neat stuff. So check him out too. All right, so that's it. Thank you for joining me on this really long video. I'm afraid to look and see how long, what the duration has been. Yeah, it's like an hour. Oh well. Thank you everybody, and I will see you again really soon. And please do enjoy this holiday weekend. So long.